Good evening, everyone. I'm Barbara Agan, the Director of Member Engagement and Education with Edify Credit Union. I thank you for joining us for this evening's virtual session, Current Financial Scams and Fraud Trends 2025. This session will be facilitated by Greg Borland, who is our fraud investigator. And just so you know, the session is being recorded, so we will use the chat feature to ask questions. So go ahead and chat your questions, and Greg will touch base with me and we'll check in for questions. And if there's, any other issues, again, I'll be managing the chat so you can message me. So I will now turn the meeting over to Greg.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Like Barbara said, my name is Greg Borland. I am your host, and I am the fraud investigator for Edify Credit Union. Tonight, we're going through current financial scams, fraud trends for 2025, how our members can stay safe. We're going to look at the most common and dangerous financial scams targeting people, especially older adults. You'll learn how they work, why older adults are increasingly targeted, and what steps we can take to protect ourselves and our finances. So without further ado, let's roll into it. So this is just a little bit on my background. It's called, they call it the brag sheet. I had a long career in law enforcement. I was very fortunate. I learned a lot about human behavior. I like to say that I've seen some of the nicest and some of the darkest things humans can bring to the table. So if you get a chance to just read that real quick, and you'll see where I came from. Right, so moving along. Why are we talking about this? Okay, so according to studies, fraud losses have reached a record high in the end of 2024 to 2025. The Federal Trade Commission said it was over $12 billion, billion with a B, and on the rise. I said before, they're increasingly targeting older adults. And the reasons for that is that you've been around longer, you have more money, greater savings. There's a generational trust in institutions and generally less familiarity with digital threats. We're going to talk about AI. You've heard AI, artificial intelligence, makes scams harder to detect. It's becoming increasingly more sophisticated, and it allows scammers to imitate voices, identities, and documents. And then credit union members, as well as other financial institutions, they make prime targets. Why is that? That's where the money's at, and that's where the people are. Fraud is a people business, right? Hence the term social engineering. They go where the people are and where the money's at to try to get the money out of the people. All right, let's look at some of the most common scams targeting older adults. I labeled the frame, but it's actually more than just older adults. It's across the board, but we do see it on the rise for those reasons I said already. So I'm going to list them one at a time so you just get to see them, and then we'll go through them individually and do a little bit of a deep dive. We've got imposter scams. We've got phishing and smishing, and everybody's heard that. Nobody knows what it means. So we'll go into that. I'll make it nice and simple for you. We have romance and relationship scams, pig butchering, investment scams. Why would you name something that, right? AI deep fake family emergency calls, identity theft, and account takeovers. These categories represent about 70% of losses among adults. All right, let's move right along. Imposter scams. Very simple. Somebody just pretends to be somebody else. Happens through phone calls, emails, texts, or in person. They could be representing themselves from your financial institution, from the credit union, from governmental agencies, from technical support, from law enforcement. These are skilled performances, right? They do this for a living. They work off of fear and urgency, right? You'll hear things like your account is locked out. Another good one, your social security number has been suspended, right? That doesn't happen. That's not a thing. There's a warrant out for your arrest. That's always a good one too. They also exploit desperation. People that are kind of in bad financial situations and they're looking for a way out, right? So just remember, no legitimate agency will pressure you to act immediately or threaten you. So my brother was a victim of this, right? He was on his computer. He got the flashing red light and making noises, and your account's been locked immediately. Don't shut off your computer. It's your account's frozen. It's been compromised. Contact Microsoft, right? Gave him a link. He clicks on the link, gets in touch with a technical support through the link, allows him to into his computer, gives up all his personal information, right? Now, my brother and I are pretty close. We talk probably on the phone twice a day, right? So he goes through all this. Finally, it sinks in. He hangs up, shuts his computer off. He calls me. I'm like, you know what I did for a living? I was a cop for 28 years, and now you know what I'm doing. Why didn't you call me? He said, I just got caught up in the urgency of the moment. They had me panicked. Now, I'm not telling you the story to embarrass my brother. Well, maybe just a little bit, right? Just a little bit. But I'm just telling you the story because it illustrates this can really happen to anyone. I had another instance where there was a mother and daughter, and they were just kind of struggling to make ends meet. And a guy walked into their neighborhood, knocked on their door, represented himself from a company that was going to save them money with their PSE&G or their power and electric bill. And he was going to save them 40%. And all they needed to do was to sign up for the program. He was going to go onto their cell phone and put an app in, and they gave him access to their cell phones. And next thing you know, he was depositing mobily bad checks through their phone, had all their account information, and they got caught up into it. They were suspects in a crime until it was investigated and proved that they weren't actually involved. That's how they exploit desperation. People who are down on their luck and they're really trying to just make it, and they'll take any kind of road that they can to try to make ends meet. So it's sad, but they have no conscience. All right, moving along. Phishing and smishing. So law enforcement, and now apparently the world of fraud investigations, we love our little acronyms and code names, right? So we've got IR, that's an investigation report. We've got SAR, that's a suspicious activity report. And FinCEN, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. And the list goes on and on and on. And now we've got phishing and smishing. So, like, what the heck does that even mean? Most people have no idea. Pretty simple. Phishing, instead of like phishing with an F, right? It's a kind of a cyber attack. They use fraudulent communication, emails, text messages, and they're trying to trick people into revealing sensitive information. They want your passwords. They want your banking information. They want your social security number. I mentioned before social engineering, right? This is what they do to try to get you to give up the information. So phishing. Smishing is basically the same thing, except it's done through texting. It got its own name. It's so important it got its own name. So texting, the official name for texting is SMS, short messaging services, right? There's a little trivia question. I bet you nobody knew that. And so it's just a different approach, the same thing. They just do it through text messages. They try to gain trust. They try to get you to put in information so that they can steal that information and use it or sell it or what have you. You're going to see messages such as you have account problems, like my brother, the big flashing red lights. Password resets, right? There was a fraudulent attempt to access your account. You need to reset your password. Put in your old password right now and your new password. Suspicious charges. I love it. I get it all the time. Somebody just charged $1,000 on my Apple Pay. That's funny. I don't have Apple Pay, right? But people fall for it. They get caught up in the urgency. They get caught up in the panic of the moment. Links leading to fake websites. This is a big one, right? Told you before, we've had many people that are just trying to make ends meet, right? And they're looking for maybe short-term payday loans. They can get $250, to get them to the next payday. And they'll take it to a website, and they'll say to them, we have to put money in your account to verify. They'll get the codes when they put the money in account. We're going to send you 6 cents and 7 cents, right? And then we'll take it back out of your account. They get information to get into your account, and then your account is compromised. And it's as simple as that. All right, moving along. Remember, the goal is to steal your personal information or your login credentials. So don't be giving your information out. All right, romance and relationship scams. I'm going to tell you, out of all of them, this is probably the most dastardly. And yes, I actually said the word dastardly. Um, they really prey on people, and it's really disgusting. They rely on emotional connection and manipulation, and they're normally victimizing people who are generally at their lowest in life. They may be lonely, they may be divorced, they may be widowed, or in this day and age, if they're older, in this day and age, they may be younger, they may be socially awkward, they may be isolated, they may not have any close friends, or they're not close with their family, right? So the scammers build relationships online through social media. They're in it for the long game. It can go on for months, it can go on for weeks, months, even years. And they learn, right, as they interact with the victims, and they learn the right things to say. A lot of times they'll be asking for money or favors. They often claim things like, I need money for medical bills, travel emergencies, or my son is imprisoned in Puerto Rico, or I'm imprisoned in Puerto Rico, and they allow me to use the phone to call you or to text you through different apps. There's an app called Signal, or perhaps you've heard of WhatsApp. It's like communication apps. Then we have secret shoppers or administrative assistants for musicians, movie stars, or sports stars. They're going to come up with a fake social media account, right, with let's say, a movie star. They're going to change the name slightly, right? Maybe it's Angelina Jolie, right? They're going to add an extra E, right? And then they're going to pretend that it's Angelina Jolie. They're going to interview you. You're going to be a secret shopper for them. You're going to test products for them. She's going to say, I'm going to send you this mobile check, a picture, deposit mobily. It's for $1,000. I want you to go out and spend $250 and buy these sunglasses. And I want you to try out the sunglasses. And then I want you to take the $250, and that's going to be your salary just for trying out those sunglasses. And you get to keep the sunglasses. And then I want you to take the other $500 and you're going to send it back to me. And it's either going to be through what they call person-to-person apps. Perhaps you've heard of it. So Venmo is a big one, or Cash App, right? Or they're going to say, I need you to go buy Bitcoin, right? And it's going to be investment, and send it to this Bitcoin account. So now the checks come back fraudulent, okay? The money comes out of your account. If you had $1,000 in your account, you're either out $1,000 or you just participated in a crime. Okay. And unfortunately, they're very, very good at their jobs, and people fall for it all the time. Tom Hanks is not looking for, me as a friend in New Jersey to buy him sunglasses. It's just not happening. Okay. But they get people that are lonely, or people with stars in their eyes, and they fall for it. And we just have to be a little bit more careful. All right. Barbara, any questions so far? Are we good?
We are good.
All right. Moving along. Pig butchering investment scams. Like, who comes up with these names? Like, what does this even mean? Pig butchering. It actually makes sense. These are scams. They call them pig butchering because the criminals, they build trust again with their victims before leading them to financial slaughter. Once again, involves long-term grooming. They have fake investment platforms. They come up with different names. I've got this tip. A lot of times it involves cryptocurrency. I'm sure that you've all heard of it. Not that anybody really understands it. I mean, I'm still learning myself. The two big ones are Bitcoin and Ethereum. So it's very, very difficult with Bitcoin to try to trace and find records and prosecute. So it's become very popular with scammers to use cryptocurrency. They use fake dashboards. They will use artificial intelligence, which we spoke about before, to show profits. The money that you're sending them is invested. They'll create these colorful presentations with all your information, show you all the money you've got. You're going to get high guaranteed returns, higher than the bank or the credit union, and insider trading tips. I'm getting you in on the ground floor of this deal, right? You're going to make money like nobody knew. You're going to be laughing as you move out of your neighborhood and go into the big times. And they pressure you to invest quickly. Got to move fast. This is not going to last. Got to move fast. Then you go and you try to make a withdrawal from your account, and there is no withdrawal. It's blocked. You can't get out from your pig butchering account. And the losses can be catastrophic. So I had one case, I'm going to say it was probably a cross between a romance scheme and a pig butchering. It was a 30-something male. He was lured in on social media, on TikTok, by an attractive female investment counselor. She was flirting and courting with him, went on for about 6 months, increasingly large investments using Bitcoin. So he learned more about her, legitimately thought that they were starting a romance and that, she was going to help him make money and get him out of debt and get him settled so he could get on with his life. And it ended up with a $20,000 fraudulent check that he deposited, and he ended up on the hook. Luckily, the check didn't go through. It was caught by our systems, or else, he's potentially now hooked up in a crime, right? And she's nowhere to be found because all of it was fake, and he was left holding the bag. So once again, they are ruthless in their approach. They will exploit anybody. They have no mercy. That's why we got to be smarter than they are. All right. AI deep fake scams, pardon me. So AI is new, but it's a double-edged sword. There's really a lot of benefits, and we're discovering the benefits, but there's also a lot of negatives. It's a strange new world. We all have to get used to it. They're using it in some really nefarious ways. They can clone voices with just a couple of seconds of audio, right? You can, if you've got like a son or a daughter or a granddaughter, right? And you can get a phone call and in their voice, I'm in jail in Canada. I need you to send Bitcoin, or I need you to send gift cards for my bail, or you need to withdraw money and do this. They create emotional pressure. I need the money right now. I'm in jail. I'm going to be taken advantage of. Even scarier is they can do video now too. There's a lot or a big surge in vehicle insurance fraud because they can generate crash photos, videos, and even identities. And it's hard to disprove the claims. It's almost to the point where you can't even believe your own eyes. You're going to see a big trend. Watch, you heard it here first. Mark my words. When you see it, you're going to say, boy, Greg Borland said it on that night back in 2025. The court systems are going to change because all of these body cameras, they rely on all this video evidence. Well, now those things can be tampered with using artificial intelligence, and there's no way to tell the difference. So you're going to see a lot of change coming in the near future. There was an example with this one where there was a female chief executive officer of a financial institution, and she had a Teams meeting with the male chief financial officer. She instructed him to make a large purchase with a company, extremely large, that was outside the normal business parameters, but she said it was necessary. She hit all of the points. We're on a time limit. It was necessary. If we don't move on this, we're going to lose billions of billions of dollars, pardon me, right? So he does what he's told to do, and guess what? It was an AI video. It wasn't the chief executive officer. She wasn't even at work. She was on vacation. They had gotten a hold of video clips of her, and they created an AI video, and they lost large sums of money. So like I said, it's getting to the point now where you can't believe your eyes. So what they're saying is now, if you're not having in-person meetings or in-person phone calls, if you're doing anything remotely, they're suggesting you use things that AI might not be able to deal with. So me and my boss are meeting and I may say, hey, Joe, raise your right hand and tell me your shoe size, right? Because AI isn't prepared for that kind of answer, right? Just kind of off the wall stuff to try to prove you're actually with the person you're with, or what you're being told to do is legitimate. So these are some of the dangers and the scariness that AI brings as we move into it. All right. Identity theft and account takeover. So a lot of times this begins with phishing or smishing that we went over before. They can also purchase your information in various quantities on the dark web. They can buy, for $10, you can buy 10 identities. For $1,000, you can buy 2,000 identities. They'll have passwords, they'll have mother's maiden name, they'll have all the information that they can get, right? So they can use it against you to compromise your identity. They also use something called password spraying, where they use common passwords against a large number of accounts, right? So you hold that thing, throwing stuff against the wall, see what sticks. It's kind of that theory, okay? Eventually, one of the passwords is going to hit, and they'll have access to an account. And what are they doing with this this information, right? When they get stolen personal information, they can open accounts, they can change addresses, change phone numbers, they can take your money out, they can request loans, they can create completely different accounts in different areas you may not even know about it. You live in Southern Jersey, right? And they'll create an account up in Central Jersey. And yes, Central Jersey does exist. I live there, so I know, right? And so what do they do? They create an account, and now they start running money through the account, illegitimate money. So maybe it's cash from drug deals, or cash from prostitution, or cash from human trafficking, right? They're running through the account in your name to make it legitimate. Then they send it to other compromised accounts, right? In this whole big scheme and chain to launder the money and make it legitimate until it gets paid out. Right? So identity theft and account takeover. All right, so now we're going to talk about some things to look out for, some red flags, and what you can do to try to protect yourself. So I mentioned before urgency, right? Anytime you find yourself in a situation and they're using urgency, you need to put the brakes on, take a deep breath, get your head right, okay? Speak to somebody, right? Before you act. One of the things in police work, with an emergency situation, what's the first thing you do? First thing you do is nothing. First thing you do is you stop, you look, right? Take in what's going on so you can make an intelligent decision and not an emotional decision. So if they're using urgency against you, right, you need to slow things down, put the brakes on, and think about what's going on. The same thing, fear or emotional pressure, okay? If your grandson is in prison in Canada for a DWI, right, your first thing shouldn't be to send him money through Zelle, right? Your first thing should be to call your daughter or son and say, "Hey, is your kid in prison?" Or call the grandson himself. Is your are you in prison in Canada? No, Grandpa, Grandma, I'm not. Right? This happened to my father-in-law. Right? And what's funny is that the guy that called him pretending to be my son had an East Indian accent, and my father's like, "Well," my father-in-law's like, "Well, that's pretty funny because, my grandson doesn't have an accent. So this is nonsense," and hung up on him. But they will try, because for every 100 that they try, they're going to get one. Don't let that one be you. Requests for secrecy. This is a big one. Don't keep secrets from your financial institution. We had one case where the scammer called up, represented himself from a governmental agency, and he said, your credit union is compromised and they're stealing your money. At 2:00 this afternoon, they're going to transfer all the money out of your account. They're going to tell you it's a bank error. You already knew you have $20,000 in your account and it's going to be gone. So what you need to do is you need to go to the credit union and you need to pull everything out. Now they're going to, and they know what goes on. They do their homework. They're not stupid. right? They're going to ask you why you're taking the money out. Tell them that you're doing home repairs. Tell them that you're buying a car. Tell them that you're putting in a swimming pool and you get a better deal for cash, right? Don't tell them. Then what I want you to do is I want you to go to this crypto machine and I want you to take the money and put it in the crypto machine. You're going to send it to this Bitcoin ID, your $20,000, and you're going to, I'm going to put it in a governmental, a undercover governmental account for you. It'll stay there for 15 business days. We're going to make arrests in this case. The credit union's going to be shut down. Your money's going to be safe. I got your back. I'll take care of you. So, person did exactly as they were instructed. They were not honest. They followed those instructions, and they lost out. They lost out on $20,000. There was nothing that we could do to help them. So they're smart. If they were stupid, we wouldn't catch them as often as we do, right? Now our job is to help all of our members so that you can be smarter. All right, they request gift cards and the PIN numbers, or like I said, cryptocurrency transfers. So back in the day, it used to be Western Union, all right? When I was back still in my detective days, right? You got to send me $5,000 in Western Union. I'm in California and I'm in jail. Dad, I need help. Okay. I used to tell them anytime anyone is asking you to send money, Western Union, chances are you're being scammed. Don't do it. Stop and ask questions. This is the same thing. Anyone requests gift cards and wants the PIN numbers, okay, you're getting scammed. This is also common in those secret shopper scams I told you about before. Go buy these gift cards. We're trying them out. We're going to see how they are. Oh, yeah, give me the account and give me the PIN number. All right, right? So they buy the gift cards, right, with that bad check that they put into their account, right, because they've got enough money to cover it. So they pulled it out and they buy the gift cards and they give them the gift cards. They give them the PIN numbers. And guess what? They spend all that money and you're out. And if you don't have the money in your account, you're on the hook for the money. So they're going to try to draw you in and use you, right, and implicate you in their criminal activities. Messages with poor grammar, spelling, or odd phrasing, right? We're going to leave that one alone right there, right now, because we're going to move on to the next slide where we're going to take a look at that and why that is the case. All right. So why is poor grammar and spelling errors a red flag, you may ask? Interestingly enough, well, a lot of times their base of operations for these criminal enterprises are in different countries outside of the United States, and English may not be their primary language. Why do they do this? They do this because now, once you go into another country, it makes investigation, prosecution, and any type of restitution damn near impossible. Okay? It's got to be huge, huge sums of money before any of the federal agency will get involved and look at a case like this. I mean, $10,000. If we're all alike here, $10,000 is a good chunk of change for me. Well, with that, it's not going to be. The federal agencies won't look at it for $10,000. If it's going to, we had one where it was being sent to Pakistan, and it's just going to end there. Law enforcement can't do anything to get at it. They want to weed out unlikely targets who are too smart, right? So after tonight, you guys are going to be in the too smart category, right? They want people that don't have any idea. They're just going to fall for their scams. So they use these a little bit of errors to sometimes it'll help them get past your spam filters on your computer, makes them seem more legitimate, more authentic. And speaking of authenticity, most people do not write in perfect English. Slight spelling errors, they seem more authentic, right? See what I did there? I used the wrong right. Okay. Slight spelling and grammar errors also build a rapport because it seems like you're more human, you're more approachable when that happens. All right, moving right along. All right, how do we protect ourselves? All right, here's the big one. MFA. What the heck does that mean? Another acronym, right? Because we love acronyms. Multi-factor authentication. Right? I was able to get that out. Say that 5 times fast. Not going to happen. So this is where you go to sign in to, um, let's say you have store cable or Comcast cable, for sake of argument, right? You go in and sign in your Comcast cable, and it says, we're going to send you a 6-digit PIN number to the phone number that's registered to this account, right? So your phone gets a little text message. It gives you a 6-digit number. You put the 6-digit number in to the computer you're trying to sign on, and your account's been authenticated. They call that MFA, multi-factor authentication. The scammers will try to get that from you. It happens to me with Netflix constantly. They're constantly like, somebody's tried to change your Netflix password. We sent you a MFA. Put the NFA in so that we can protect your account. And I'm like, yeah, okay, right? I do this for a living. I'm not falling for that. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. Use strong passwords. Now they're suggesting not passwords because people all use things that are associated to them. They use their dog's name, their cat's name, their son's name, right? And the fraudsters, by social engineering, looking at your Facebook page, right, and looking at your social media, a lot of times they can come up with clues, and they can use AI to run these algorithms to come up with your passwords. So they're looking now. You might be better off with like passphrases. So maybe your favorite movie quote, right? We're going to need a bigger boat for everybody who's a Jaws fan, or you can't handle the truth, 2025, right? If you like The Few Good Men, right? Or what's it? When Harry Met Sally, I'll have what she's having, 2025, right? That's what they're suggesting, okay? Or song lyrics if you're a music person, right? Because it's harder to determine any of that through social engineering, if that makes sense to everybody. Never click on unexpected links. Don't be my brother. Okay. If you don't know where it's from, if there's any type of question, do not click on it. It's going to end poorly for you, and we don't want that to happen. Verify identity through confirmed official phone numbers. When I'm dealing with members who've been victimized, when I call them up and I introduce myself, I say, listen, don't take my word for it. When we hang up, I want you to go to the bank the credit union main number. I want you to call in and ask for the fraud investigator. They're going to tell you it's who I am, and they're going to send you to me, right? I want people to get in the habit of doing that. Okay. Call first. Discuss suspicious activity. Call your family. Said in numerous examples tonight. Okay. If your grandson is in jail in Canada, call your grandson, call your son, call your brother, call your sister, right? Or you can call your credit union, reach out to me, right? Or anybody in our call center. They can all assist you if there's suspicious activity and you have some doubts or concerns. It's better to take the extra 5-7 minutes that it takes, right, than to be victimized and perhaps lose all of your hard-earned savings. Trust your gut and your instincts. There's an old saying my father used to say, if it appears too good to be true, it probably is. I know that's old school, and but it's 100% applicable. All right, we're starting to wind down. We've got some additional resources here for you. First one is your credit union fraud investigator, yours truly. At the end of the presentation, I will give you my number and my email address. If you have problems, you can feel free to reach out to me anytime. I will do what I can to help. I'm very honest with people. I will tell them that if you're involved in a scam, I'm going to do everything I can to prosecute you and put you in jail. The other part of my job is to, if you're not involved in the scam, is to try to protect you and your resources. So I have two roles. Part of it is to detect, prevent, and prosecute fraud, and the other part is more of a protective role to try to assist, protect our members and their resources. The last thing we want to see is you get taken advantage of and your hard-earned money be taken away. Your local police department using the non-emergency number. I'm going to say that again. Write it down. Non-emergency number. Do not call 911 and tell them somebody tried to change your Netflix password. That will not end well, right? Look at go on the internet and Google your local police department. There's always a non-emergency number where you can get in contact with them. These things are not 911 emergency calls. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, they've got a good website reporting system, reportfraud.ftc.gov. There's a lot of good information there if you're hungry for some more information, or if you have questions, or if you have fraudulent situations, you can report them there. And then lastly, AARP has a fraud watch network. I started perusing that myself. A lot of good information there, a lot of things, follow-up things, more information for you to look out for. Okay, what's the takeaway tonight? Okay, this is the $10 question of the night. Use the information that we've given you tonight, that I just spent the better part of an hour going over with you, right, to be an active participant in your own financial safety and security. We can't do it alone, okay? This is a partnership. You have to participate in helping us protect your assets and to protect your identity. Okay, so JD Powers and Associate just did a study, and it was even after being victims of fraud, right? They in the tagline they used credit card holders. They didn't take any measures to protect themselves, right? The study was called the U.S. Financial Protection Satisfaction Study, and a significant percentage of consumers, 23% of bank customers, 29% of credit card customers, they haven't taken any simple steps, right? Such as security measures like reviewing your account, updating your password, adding in the multi-factor authentication, MFA, like we discussed. Very simple. Look at your account. See if there's anything on there that you didn't charge or you didn't buy, right? Help us help you. Don't be that guy, right? I put it in larger print down there. Don't be that guy.
Greg, we do have a few questions in the chat.
Okay.
So, first question is, any ideas or suggestions about someone stealing ownership of your home and using your escrow?
Ooh, okay, that is a good one. Okay, and that I'm going to have to do a little bit of research because that's a little bit of a deeper dive. So I'm going to give you my email address and my phone number. If you could reach out to me, just shoot me an email, right? I'll gather more information. I kind of have to look into that myself, okay? Because I'm not a subject matter expert on real estate, but I can certainly get enough information to point you in the right direction. If I don't know the answer, I'll find a way to get the answer to get you where you need to be.
Great.
What else we got?
All right. So if someone comes to your door, tries one of these scams, although I don't think they actually do this in person, but do you call the police non-emergency number to report this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. So not to offend everybody, but there was that old stereotype of the old lady that lives in the neighborhood that's in everybody's business, right? So I will tell you as a cop, I loved that old lady, loved her to death, right? Because she was the best source of information. She could tell me every car that came in that neighborhood that wasn't supposed to be there, that wasn't there on a regular basis, right? So if they're going door to door, magazine scams, they'll come in, they'll say, "Hey, we're going to redo your driveway," right? Or we're gonna fix your washing machine. They'll get you to take them into your laundry room. Meanwhile, their associate comes in after you leave the room, goes into your bedroom, starts stealing your jewelry. So yeah, they still do come to the house. I know it's old school, but you know they make money, so they're still doing it. And 100%, don't fall for it. Call the local police. Get as much information as you can. That's the guy you want to be, right? I got his license plate number. Never put yourself in any jeopardy. Don't get confrontational. Never put yourself in any type of situation where it gets hot or an attack situation. But you could say he had a brown 4-door car and I got the license plate. Like, all that's perfect. Or a physical description. It was a white guy and he was about 6 feet and he was kind of heavy and he had on a green shirt. Anything that you can give him, 100%. If the police department is professional at all, they love that, right? Because that's what helps us solve crimes. I can't tell you how many residential burglaries we cleared, right? Because I had the old woman that lived in that neighborhood that everybody said, "Oh, she's in everybody's business," right? but we loved her.
Greg, actually, Jill is one of the participants and she can answer the question about the real estate. So, Jill, if you want to unmute and address that question, that would be great. All right. I don't know if she heard me, but I just texted her. So in the meantime, we do have another question that came in.
Okay.
Ooh.
So hang on one second. Let me go back to that one. So that one with the real estate, right? So if you haven't made out a police report, that's going to be your first step. Always make out a police report because you want it documented, right? If you've had identity theft, you certainly want to get that documented. There may be consultations with an attorney to get you out of that. But if Jill's able to add more, if not, like I said, I will get you in the right direction.
Yeah, she said she's not able to unmute. I'm not sure why. That's the one thing I can't do. I can ask her to unmute, but I cannot physically unmute her. And she
Okay.
is home, so I don't know. So sorry, I don't know. Unless she figures that out, we'll go on to the next question. And I don't know, maybe you can dial in separately, Jill, and that way you can join the audio on the phone. So we'll go to the next question. I lost over $60,000 last year to a scammer who posed as my bank's fraud investigator. He convinced me to withdraw large amounts of money from my account and send to cryptocurrency accounts. Why didn't the bank ask questions about why I was withdrawing the money? Don't bank employees know about these scammers?
They most certainly do. And we do ask questions. They don't necessarily have to tell us, right? We can't compel them to answer, but we do have protocols and where we do ask questions. And they forward them to me. Some of you may have been called for me, right? If people withdraw large sums of money, I started calling people and asking. And I tell them it's a courtesy call, right? I'm calling to make sure that you're not being victimized, right?
Right.
I went over the situation, the secrecy case with you, with our audience here, right? And I use that as an example, right? They try to tell you don't believe in your credit union, right? They're trying to scam you, right?
Mm.
And it comes down to simple things, and even I'll try to point them in the right direction. If you're dealing with contractors, get it in writing, right? Don't If you can avoid paying cash, avoid paying cash, because once it's they give you give them a little bit of cash, right? It's hard to press criminal charges because it kind of turns into a civil matter at that point, right? So that you have to be careful when you're buying used cars, right? You have to be careful. So I'll even try to give them a little bit of information on that when I can.
Right. And I will say, even from personal experience, there was a time I was withdrawing money from one bank. I got a bank check to bring to the credit union to purchase a CD, and it was like $25,000. And I was surprised that even from a sales perspective, that a teller wouldn't ask why I'm taking the money out to try and, salvage the business. And unfortunately, I guess sometimes you just can't rely on that. Now, that said, Jill is unmuted, so she can address the real estate question. Do you want me to repeat that question, Jill?
I think I remember it, Barbara. There was a question about people stealing the equity in your home and how you may be able to prevent that from happening. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the key to stealing equity in a home is you have to have equity in your home. And also, you're most vulnerable when you do not have a mortgage or any sort of lien. When you do have a mortgage, whether it's a first mortgage or a home equity line of credit, or home equity loan, it makes it a little bit more difficult because before the criminal could get access to your equity, they have to sort of go through that mortgage company to release the lien. Now, it's a little easier to steal equity if you just have a home equity loan. That doesn't mean everybody should go out and start, leveraging their house if they don't have to. But there's a very simple way to protect yourself. In every county, you could contact the county clerk, and for no cost, you could have an alert put onto your county records, so that if anybody tries to make a change to the deed of your house, to log a like a new mortgage or a new loan, a new lien against it, they will alert you. And I personally know people who have been saved from that kind of scam because they had that alert put on their account. So contact the county clerk and put that alert on your account. You could also rely on other sources like LifeLock or other monitoring services to do that. But I think the best one is that county court or county clerk. And that's
Thank
it.
you.
All right, Barbara, any other questions?
Yes. 1 second. Okay. So somebody was asking, is that only for people who do not have a mortgage? I guess what you
No.
talked about.
No, anybody could do that. And actually, we probably all should do that because let's say your home is worth $400,000 and you have about a $90,000 mortgage balance left. Somebody could still unscrupulously go in and impersonate you and try to capture some of the other equity in your house. They could try to get a home equity loan or a line of credit off of it. Now, at Edify, we're very diligent about verifying identity and knowing our members, but I can't speak to every financial institution. So I think it's a really good idea for all of us to put that alert on our county records.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You mentioned LifeLock, which again is a very valuable tool. Our KeepSafe Checking also offers credit monitoring and identity theft protection. And just in general, anybody with an account with us or an account anywhere, you can set up alerts. So a dollar hits your account and you're notified. So, definitely. So aside from somebody calling you or texting you and you getting caught in a scam, but if somebody somehow got access to your funds, you want to know if a withdrawal is made on your account that you didn't make and as quickly as possible. So that's just kind of another tip. Do we have any other questions?
I'm going to leave you with this, right? A fun ending. Down at the bottom, it says, I'm so glad we had this time together. Okay. Double word score and bragging rights. If you know where that's from and you give me the second lyric in the chat or the question, right, I'll give you a hint. It may have something to do with Carol Burnett.
And if you have the nerve to unmute and sing it, that would even be awesome.
That's triple word score.
Let's see. We have somebody popping up. Just to have a laugh and sing a song. Very good.
Winner, chicken dinner. Very nice. Very nice.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been my pleasure working with you tonight. You have all my information. You have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you again for joining us for this virtual session.